Hi, welcome to class. We're the only two right now, but the other ones will show up eventually, right? I hate my life. I hate my life.
A Professor Sunreis Productions!
Hello class, Professor Sunreis here. Sorry for not uploading this past week and not for not streaming. I wanted to do that, but our sweet baby boy Lucky got ill for the past like half a week, like the start half of. He was ill, so I didn't really have a lot of time or headspace for a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh grinding. But in my opinion, I did find the most optimal list of playing Bystial, Horus, Dragon Link-esque decks into the upcoming format, and I'm gonna showcase you guys this in this video. And the nice extra thing, it's even Thunder Dragon is playable in this list. While I don't think it is necessarily best thing to play right now, because people are on a few more board breakers than they were like in the end of last format with Tempai Dragons being around, I still think it's worthwhile to investigate, and I'm gonna showcase you guys like what I would play for them, how they work in this deck, etc, etc. So without further ado, don't forget to seal pads on the subscribe button, leave some feedback down below, and let's get right into the video. So, what am I playing is it's Horus Bystial Control. A very straightforward list I have been playing in the past as well. I really like playing with Horus cards, but I just think the Rocket cards outperformed that. And you could, in theory, play both of them, but then you had like a very, very low amount of non-engine, and Rocket just played a little more efficiently with a high amount of non-engine, which you still want to really do in this deck. And I still think the deck is, like I said in the last video, very well positioned in the current format. While the Tempai matchup, I've played against it a few, is kind of hard, but that's mostly because I just bricked against them a lot, and they tend to give me like bad hands. But Seal IP all don't really do a lot against them. Tempai can just go into battle phase and force those out kind of efficiently, while still being able to play and just being an engine, because the battle phase is basically their main phase. So Tempai is looking kind of rough of a matchup, so maybe we have to prepare for that a little more, but I think Tempai is gonna fall out of favor rather sooner than later. So this deck is still very, very good looking into the format, with Snake Eye being a somewhat manageable matchup with the Bystials and the non-engine, and then Voiceless Voice with it being having a new boost with the new spell, like the new perma spell, and still branded as a counter to Snake Eyes. The deck is still very well positioned, so we just are trying to do like a very consistent Seal IP +1, either be it a Levy or a Hope Harbinger pass, and then just control the board off that with hopefully one non-engine to back that up. So let's get into the profile. It's 41 cards in the main deck, and by the way, I will showcase you guys afterwards what I would be playing for the Thunder cards. So for the Bystials, almost maxed out 3 Lubellion, 3 Sarania, a Baldrake, and a Magnamut. This is pretty standard. We just want to play a shit ton of Bystials because they act as engine and non-engine together, and then you just want to have all of the utility you want to have in it. Playing 2 Drewsworm is really good because Sarania then can send a Drewsworm to banish for a Levy or like for anything else, or just have it in the graveyard for a regain, while still having one in the deck, and then having Baldrake in there as like the additional Bystial as a seal target is really, really good. And I'm starting to really like Baldrake like as a disruption in like in the opponent's turn. Not like we don't put it onto the board with like a seal or something, but if we have a nib, if we would be playing Phantasme, or if we just draw a shit ton of Bystials, Baldrake is actually really, really good if the opponent cannot run over it in battle phase. So in theory, I really, really like it, and you could go for an approach where you could do that more often with, like I said, playing Phantasme. I can't make space for like Phantasme in the side deck, so I think it's not possible right now. For the spells, we actually play Regained and Branded Beast. I was thinking about this a lot, and this is one of the reasons why I think this version is better than the Thunder Dragon version, because in the Thunder Dragon version, you just sadly don't have the space for that. But Branded Beast, in theory, is really, really good against Tempai. So if we lose the die roll and we are forced to go first, we know, okay, it's probably Tempai. So we go for a Branded Beast there to pop the field spell. I really, really like that. Having the this card in the main deck is really good against Stun, which is still in the format, of course. So that's also a nice plus. And having the ability, so if we either hard draw any of these, to get the other one of the Rebellion, so that we are always able, like I said, like in the last profile, I think, always being able to press that Rebellion button basically feels very, very good and very, very needed for this deck, because the ceiling of this deck just got so much lower. So I think it's very, very wise to like make the ceiling a little higher, and Branded Beast is one of those cards. You can start it out going second into a plethora of matchups. Sometimes it can be good. It can be even better than Branded Beast going second, like a nasty Branded Beast onto the board while breaking the board is really, really good. If you don't hard draw this card is insane, and arguably better than Regain going second. So I really, really like that. And like I said, in the Thunder Dragon version, you sadly don't have space for that, but that's another reason why I think this is just a little better. While board breakers are still a thing and back for removal, this makes us a little more susceptible to that, but we do play the Hope Harbinger to counteract it to some degree. We can't always make it, but if we really want to make it, we probably have the ability to do so. Also, this plays really well together with the Horus engine, so if we mill the regain, we can go for the Branded Beast. If we mill the Branded Beast, we still have a regain in the deck. That helps with the mills to make it a little less hard to just go for first action Zombie Vampire mill 4. For the Dragon starters, 3 Safered, Black Metal, Chaos Base 1-for-1. 1-for-1 is definitely iffy because we only play the small Black Metal package. I liked it in the Thunder Dragon version because there wasn't 43 cards and like hitting a Raw or a Dark out of the hand felt very good. Still think it's good enough in this deck, just because you really want the consistency. You still have a decent amount of discards, which are good. Just the consistency and the extra push going second just really helps out. Then we have Samsara. Without the Absolrada, without rockets, you definitely need something to send with Dragon Ravine, and Samsara is the best thing for that. It comes up a lot in grind games, tribute summon lines. Samsara is just the GOAT. The small baby dragons, like Chaos Dragons, and then Red MD Levy, this is all standard. And then I was also playing the Chaos Emperor, and this is definitely still an iffy spot. I really like an extra rank level 8 to have more access into rank 8s in the form of Hope Harbinger, because I really like a spell negate right now, and Hope Harbinger is just the best thing to add to like a seal IP because it fixes all of the problems that Endport has. So I really like it. But between this and the Darkest Diabolos, this is in theory just so much better to like add off Magnamod on turn 3 to guarantee a win. This also opens up some lines, so in theory I think this bricks less hard than Darkest Diabolos, but Darkest Diabolos would also be a summon of a tomb, which has some value, which I'm also missing sometimes. But I feel like if we can get value of like an Atum summon, like if you want to have value of an Atum summon and we already went through those two, we probably already win. So it's kind of hard. I think an additional level 8 is good, but if it's Diabolos or Chaos Emperor, I'm not 100% sure. I like Chaos Emperor a little more because we struggle triggering Diabolos, because it's only Lubellion and Samsara tribute summon lines, and like we want to use Lubellion way earlier before we get Darkest Diabolos into the graveyard. So yeah, I think Darkest Diabolos is just a little too hard to trigger. In the Thunder variant, the Darkest Diabolos is easier to trigger, and you can definitely fit it in there. Yeah. We of course play a Dragon Ravine to make the whole Dragon Pile glue together, stick together, whatever you want to say. Horus cards, I only play the bare minimum. I really liked playing 2 King Sarcophagus in the Thunder variant because it's just another card to enable your Thunders in the hand. Here in this variant, I don't think it's necessary. You don't really like starting with this card unless you specifically discard a Thunder and have a Bystial. So I just wanted to have the minimum and go for like almost 40, like 41 cards for a Dragonling deck is kind of based, not gonna lie. Yeah, the Horus cards are insane. They are like arguably your best play starter. They play very well into draw because if you activate this and you get drolled under, it's usually fine because then you just discard the Searcher you have in your hand, the Chaos Base, the Rebellion, all of the cards which are dead under draw. You go for a Horus line, and if you're lucky, you can mill Safered Samsara, especially Samsara, or you just mill another Bystial, and then you can go into a tomb and access your Samsara that way. And suddenly you can make some pretty nasty plays even under draw. So that felt very good. For non-engine, it's all dedicated towards Snake Eyes. This might need to change with Tempai being in the format, but I still think it's just correct to play these because at least Imperm is also very good against Tempai, and usually they don't immediately go into battle phase and start with Sangen Kaiman. I think Sangen Kaiman is called, like the quick spell. So if they start with that, it's the only play they have. So usually we should be able to stop that. So these are at least alive against that deck as well. So I think it's correct to play these, and Nib is just insane against the deck. And overall, with these 9 low impact hand traps, or like high impact, or just hand traps in general, and all of the Bystials we are playing, we just have such a good time against Snake Eyes and all of the decks in the format right now. So what it might look like, we're only playing 9 non-engine, we're actually playing like 5-7 more, so we are actually playing 16 non-engine. Most of them are just very dedicated towards being like against darks in graveyard or lights in graveyard, so it can be a little iffy, but in theory we are playing 16 non-engine in 41, which is of course pretty good. For the extra deck, it's pretty standard. Striker, Romulus, 2 seals. Another reason why I like this variant better than the Thunder Dragon variant is because we actually have space in the extra deck for everything which we want. 2 seals definitely comes up a lot. Tribute Summon Samsara Alliance, play around in Nib. A lot of times the second seal comes up. Triple Burst and Pisty line. This is a little weird. In the Thundering variant, we use these to go into the Chillhop fusion, which I'm going to showcase you here on this screen, to banish out a Roar out of the deck. So it felt very, very good to play in this. In this variant, it's a little less impactful. You have the ability to have a link 3 for the access code line, and we have a second link 1 for the Striker Dragon. So that's very, very good. And apart from that, we are also able to go for an access code with this, because we can just summon, let's put these away here. We can just summon, we summon a dragon into the zone here, and then we can just link that off for a Seal or a Romulus, probably a Seal because we went into a Romulus, and then we turn them into an access code with 3 pops. And then we just need 1 extra body in the form of a zombie vampire or like a red MD to still get the OTK. So I really, really still like that. And going first, it's very good to recycle a Seyfried and then give us 2 darks in the graveyard for a levy. Because if we don't go for an Horus mill, it's kind of hard to get 3 darks into the graveyard because we don't have the rocket cards. So that made it way, way easier. So while being the utility of a link 3, Triple Burst comes up against surprisingly a lot of decks just running over something and negating like a floater is really, really good. And then having the additional link 1, having the line for an access code, having the enablers for like a levy in the graveyard, and recycling a Seyfried in the same time to give us just this little more power and push like game 1 because, or like going first, because we are kind of low ceiling, so we want to increase that ceiling as much as possible. So I really, really like these, and we do have a fair amount of space in this extra deck to begin with, so we are not really cramping. IP, SP, Dark, Access Code, Appaloosa. Appaloosa also something which I really, really wanted to play. It comes up in weird scenarios with an IP, where the SP just doesn't really establish itself, or like going second, and we already used an SP, and then we end on IP to go into an Appaloosa. Sometimes it's correct to do that if we only have Seal IP and they suddenly can force out an IP. Sometimes just better to like just make these Appaloosa at that point. So I really, really like the Appaloosa. And this is also a card which is hard to fit into the Thunder Dragon variant. Then for XZs, Atum. Still definitely want to play this one. It's just way too good with all of the Bystials which we are playing. Even if you cannot summon a Tracer or an Absolouter, the ability to summon a Seyfried, a Black Metal, a Red MD, a Drew's Worm comes up as well, is really, really needed. Zombie Vampire, Hope Harbinger, and Typhon for the XZs. Typhon, another card which you cannot fit into the Thunder Dragon variant, and it comes up a lot. Playing into Snake Eye boards, you can get rid of a lot of their stuff and then just bounce the Promethean Princess, and then you are just straight Varbin. They're like Seal IP plus a Typhon on the board is just really hard, or like just Seal or IP plus a Typhon is really hard for them to crack back on. So that felt very, very good. And then the Hope Harbinger, my opinion is just a little more consistent to go for like Seal IP Hope Harbinger compared to Seal IP Colossus, because yeah, sometimes they just auto scoop to the Colossus, but if they had a hand like that, Seal IP Hope Harbinger probably does the same thing. It just takes you like 5 more minutes and the opponent has the ability to play into that. But as long as you don't misplay or like misread your opponent super hard, you still should win with that. And now then suddenly you have the ability, if the opponent has an Talons, a Droplet, or probably not a Droplet, but any like a non-engine Talons, Lightning Storm, Cosmic, anything which could really, really hurt you, or like an out for Colossus, suddenly you can use your Hope Harbinger to negate that, and then you still have Seal IP. So Colossus, yeah, it can cheese you a few wins, but Hope Harbinger is just way more consistent and plays very well with the Seal IP because you negate the Talons, which can be a little bit annoying. And more importantly, the opponent cannot run over your Seal IP, which to begin with, it's not the biggest deal because we have so much follow-up, but it can be a little annoying, and them not even having the ability, or just maybe sometimes missing the ability for Hope Harbinger to redirect an attack is really, really huge. So I really, really like this. It's kind of hard to make because we only have 5 level 8s, and 2 of them we use for Zombie Vampire, and then Lebellion we usually go for like link into a Romulus, and then we need to get into Levy access. You cannot make this all the time, but I really, really like this, and I would continue playing this over the Colossus variant. Speaking about the Colossus variant, what you would cut out for the extra deck, you need to fit in the Trishula Fusion and the Colossus, so it would sadly be 1 Seal, so that's a little bit annoying. And then it's probably a Typhon or Hope Harbinger. You just need to cut one of them, or like 2 of those. I guess Appaloosa is also one of the cuts you can make, so you need to cut 2 of those, and all of them, they feel so important and impactful. It's very, very hard to cut any of them. And then in the main deck, we are on 41th right now. I played 43. And I think I played the same amount of non-engine. I wanted to fit in an additional King Sarcophagus, and I was not playing this then. And I think that's about it. And I wasn't playing the Brannock Beast. So I was playing additional King Sarcophagus, the 3 Thunders, so 1 Raw, 1 Dark, 1 Hawk, and then I cut these 2 out of the main deck and put them into, at least the Branded Beast, into the side deck. But Branded Beast and like Hope Harbinger just synergizes way more with our actual gameplay compared to Colossus. Colossus like in whole other win condition, which doesn't really synergize with our deck whatsoever, and it just felt susceptible to cards which we weren't susceptible to begin with, and the lines are kind of resource intensive, like going for the Trishula fusion only leaves you with 1 dragon onto the board afterwards. You can make an you can always make IP Colossus afterwards, but you need to put in additional resources to make Seal IP a Colossus, so it's very, very resource intensive, and if the opponent has the out for Colossus, it just didn't do anything. So while my heart really wants to play this, I think it's just way better to play without the Colossus, at least for now. Maybe like there will be a format where we have to play hand trap because Snake Eye is still in the format and you cannot play anything else, and then you can play the Colossus, I guess. But right now people are playing board breakers. Droplet is in a lot of main decks next to like 9 to 12 hand traps, so we need to prepare for that, and not going for Colossus just way better against that. For the side deck, a Feather Duster and a Cosmic. I wanted to play Evenly or Lightning Storms, but I noticed we are playing so many Bystials, it's kind of awkward to have Lightning Storm in there. It wasn't my side deck, and I then just figured, wait, I don't really want to put in Lightning Storm into this matchup, for example, against Lab, because I plan on Bystialing them, and suddenly I'm going second, I have a Lightning Storm in my hand, but I also have a Druid Form for the Kuklok or like any of the other furnitures, and then it's an awkward game, so I just didn't want to do that and just played the Feather Duster, because I kept not siding in Lightning Storms when I really wanted to, because I figured Bystials are also in that matchup. Speaking about Bystials, a lot of people side 2 to 3 Bystials, so do we. You just max them out. And then 3 Ash for against anything, basically going second against Snaka. This is our extra low impact hand trap. Against Lab, against Branded, against everything. This comes in most of the time, especially going first. And going second sometimes as well. And then for my going first stuff, I have 2 Talents, an Anti-Spell, and 2 D-Barrier. So these are 3 cards I can always side in against anything in the format. Apart from Snake Eyes, you can probably side these in against Branded, against Voiceless Voice, against Tempai. These will probably win you the game. You have to be a little bit careful with the D-Barrier. You cannot just shotgun it. You want your opponent to go into the first synchro, and then you use the D-Barrier, because otherwise they probably have enough resources to go into a Promethean Princess OTK. But if they are on the battle phase, you can freely just go for D-Barrier and you win the game. Just wait with it a little bit and use it on like their first, even if they went into a synchro, just use it on that. It's totally fine. It's way better. And against Snake Eyes, we just side an Anti-Spell and Talents, because if they're playing a hand trap version, of course, because yeah, T-Barrier doesn't do anything against that deck, and Talents Anti-Spell is very, very good. And then you have the Talents as a flex spot into mid-range formats, like matchups like Lab, like Voiceless Voice. I guess you can also side this in against Tempai if you don't know if you're gonna go first or second. Wait, that doesn't make sense. But yeah, in theory, this is also decent against Tempai. Maybe I will be testing playing this going first, because they usually play a shit ton of hand traps, and then just hand looping then for their like their 1 engine card or like one of the 2 engine cards also could be very, very good. But I would have to do some more testing with that, because like I said, the Tempai matchup is a little iffy, but I only played against it 2 or 3 times, and I didn't really have a good hand in any of those, but it felt very, very unfair. But yeah, that's it for the profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope I can do some actual streaming next week, because this week I got a lot of work to do. I'm working like 4 or 5 days this week. Then the 1st of May is like a very big holiday here in Germany, so I probably won't be playing any Yu-Gi-Oh! That day. And then maybe on the Thursday, I will find some time to actually stream again for you guys. But stay tuned for more. Definitely just follow me on the Twitch. I will hopefully put it into the description this time. The last few times I forgot. I don't know how. Anyways, hope you guys are happy with this deck. I hope you guys are still having some form of success with Dragonlink, Bystial, Horus, Bystial, Resonator, whatever you want to call it, whatever version you are playing. I am having still a decent amount of success, and I really like how this deck plays. I hope you guys aren't coping too hard on Colossus, and with that, class is dismissed. You guys are free to leave. Professor Sunreis out. Peace.